Hello, my name is Tyler Anderson for those who don't know me, and today I'm going to be talking about in soccer players what is the most beneficial hydration technique between water or Gatorade to prevent exercise associated muscle cramps. So, to begin, um, I'm going to first explain exactly what an exercise associated muscle cramp is. I'm sure most are familiar with it. I'm sure we've all have experienced it. I know I have from all the years of racing motocross. To begin, though, exercise-associated muscle cramps are associated mainly in high humidity conditions. Uh, they represent a condition that presents during or after intense exercise sessions as an acute, painful, involuntary muscle contraction. Now, these can happen all over the body. Um, the primary cause, though, is a deficiency in dehydration. A lot of times during exercise, we sweat a lot and lose all the supplements that we have intaken before the activity we participate in. There's a lot of electrolyte imbalances, neuromuscular fatigue, and any combination of all these together can cause an exercise-associated muscle cramp. The skeletal muscle cramp occurs during or shortly following exercise in healthy individuals um, with no underlying metabolic, neurological, or endocrine pathology. Now, like I said, these can happen in really any athlete. I've seen it in almost every sports setting I've been in, and they are very painful. We even had one kid suffer from one so bad he ended up getting rhabdomyolysis and had to be sent to the hospital. Uh, Now, for the next slide I'm about to talk about is going to be background information. So, what causes and the risk factors that we should know about for exercise-associated muscle cramps. The main one is environmental temperature. If it's above the skin temperature, athletes will absorb heat in the environment depending on the evaporation loss. Now, that means we're sweating too much that, sweating all that we intake. So we're beginning to become dehydrated. In high relative humidity, heat is lost from the body through evaporation, which is why it's so important that we all hydrate with water before activity. That's why it's so stressed for sports. And a lot of times you see this mainly in preseason because athletes are not used to the temperatures and the activity levels they are performing at. And exercising in hot and humid conditions exacerbates the amount of fluid and electrolytes lost, thereby it's going to facilitate in a cramp. There's common signs and symptoms that we should all be aware about and that we can know, and that's that's one, dehydration, profuse sweating, just typical transient muscle cramps that are having, muscle spasms, fatigue in the players, an increase in their thirst, and the list can keep on and on, but those are the main ones that we want to keep focus on. As far as recognizing and treatment methods, if any athlete's showing signs and symptoms including dehydration, thirst, sweating, muscle cramps, fatigue, this probably is going to be an exercise-associated muscle cramp. Now, there's different techniques to treat these individuals. And to relieve the muscle spasms, the athlete should stop the activity that they are performing. We should immediately try to get them to replace the fluids that have been lost, either with water, but a lot of times you want to try and get the electrolytes levels back up. So using sodium fluids, other supplements, and even trying to massage and stretch the area that's inflicted. Another technique is putting them in a recumbent position, which will allow rapid redistribution of blood flow. Let's say if they're cramping in their legs. Now, a lot of these treatment options are not 100%. They're not 100% accurate, and not a lot of research or experiment has been done on it. But there's other ways that they claim will help with dehydration or help muscle cramps, such as mustard, pickle juice, cryotherapy, thermotherapy, intravenous infusions, TENS units. The list just goes on and on. There's so many different ways people think they can treat these cramps. Now, for kind of the next slide I'm talking about is going to be hydration types, which kind of goes to the PICO question I originally had. So between Gatorade and water, these are the main two hydration types I'm going to be focusing on. So as far as water is concerned, this is what every coach, everyone, just general knowledge, everyone wants to have. And it's very important to always maintain your hydration level. That's why in every athletic room, bathroom, anywhere you see as a sports facility, you're going to see a hydration level chart. So water ingestion during prolonged exercise, it improves endurance performance by preventing the progressive increase of your heart rate. It'll help keep your core temperature down and will reduce the risk of stroke volume and cardiac output. Overall, water is the go-to, and everyone should already know that. And whether you're going to consume Gatorade or water as a hydration type, water is always the best option. But I'm trying to focus more on Gatorade and why it's more beneficial. These sport drinks contain a lot of different nutrients within them, a lot of electrolytes, a lot of sodium, salt, and carbohydrates that we all lose during our high level activity. Some of the research that I found, sports drinks such as Gatorade, it's proven to be appropriate for exercise as it produces more muscle glycogen for greater endurance. So it's allowing the body to regain what's been lost and keep their energy level up. The sodium that's in it plays a role in the muscle contraction and conduction of nerve impulses. So there's a less chance of having these muscle spasms and cramps when there's a high sodium and carbohydrate level inside the body. Now, a deficiency of it can impair their performances. It'll cause nausea, headache, appetite loss, muscle weakness, and cramping. So the increase of body mass during Gatorade consumption may be related to the sodium concentration, which will promote water retention, so it won't be lost as much. Fluid absorption, as far as sport drinks, they all contain sodium. Too much can be a problem. That's why you generally see people who are drinking Gatorade after their activity. But that's overall one of the best hydration techniques. So I was going into my next slide, which is going to discuss more about Gatorade and why I think it's a better option. As far as this goes, there's really no study that proves what is the best option for hydrating. There's no one way to do it best. Both ways have their benefits and both have their issues. Most of the studies, like I said, it's recommended to consume Gatorade during the prolonged exercise. That's why you see a lot of athletes who have it the day before practice. And also in studies, it's more beneficial in water regarding their RPE and weight change during prolonged exercise. And if we think athletes becoming dehydrated, we need to monitor it and check them before they can return to play by checking their body weight. It's recommended to hydrate with Gatorade during prolonged exercise. And it's for anyone who feels like they are dehydrated, it's recommended for, like I said, the prolonged exercise that are being done. For events that are lasting longer than an hour, it'll aid the athletes in staying hydrated and allow them to have their optimal performance. In a recent study, the subjects who experienced cramps, they were split between drinking water or Gatorade substance, and during the carbohydrate electrolyte trial, which was the Gatorade, there was a benefit by consuming this, which means they did not have as much cramps as the other subjects did. Now, like I said, there is no common one way to do it, but the electrolytes, sodium, the salt, everything that's in the sports drink such as Gatorade has its main benefits, and it's going to allow the athlete to have a decreased risk of of getting these exercise-associated muscle cramps. There is the best way, which you normally see with people who are dehydrated. They get sent to the hospital, and it's intravenous fluid, which is by taking it by an IV. I've had this happen to me, and it's the quickest route because it's straight to the veins, where consuming water and Gatorade will not get into the bloodstream right away, which we need in order to rehydrate ourselves.